Alright, this video is going to be about one of the key developmental psychologists of all time, Piaget. Alright, so Piaget, he had a theory of cognitive development where we develop through certain stages, and at each stage we can kind of get a picture of what a person is capable of at that moment. Alright, so the key thing to this theory is what he calls operations. Alright, so an operation, according to Piaget, is just a mental activity that you can perform. Alright, so his stages start off with, from those first couple years of life, we have what's called the sensory motor stage. And so this one, operations aren't even a thing, right? That kind of higher-ish level of cognitive ability, it just isn't possible. What an infant is going to be focused on is developing their motor skills, processing their sensory information, and kind of coordinating the two. That's the key thing, right? Going into his second stage is what he calls the pre-operational stage, right? So we are not quite ready to do full operations, full mental activity on our own in our head. Rather, we need something kind of like physically in front of us, right? So when we're learning to add, right, we're going to get those beads or whatever it is. We need something physically in front of us to help us learn the different numbers for adding and subtracting and whatnot. And if it's there physically in front of us, we're good, all right? It's after this when we get to the concrete operational stage where now a lot of these things, these operations, these mental activities, we're able to do in our head, all right? So we can do simple addition and subtraction and different things like that in our head, and we're capable of many things, but it's still going to be a little more limited, right? We're developing this skill, but it's not quite to the point where we want it just yet, right? And then we'll transition into the formal operational stage. We'll see this kind of around middle school or so, late elementary school. And at this point, moving forward, we're capable of greater things, right, with these operations. The key thing to note about Piaget's theory of cognitive development, though, is that fourth and final stage, that's it, right? So I think we're going to be hard-pressed to say that someone's cognitive abilities and the way they understand and the things they understand information, the way they process information, the things they're capable of doing at 15 years old is not the same as when they're 25 or 45. But according to Piaget, it's all the same stage. That is one potential limitation that we're going to see with his theory. With this, though, he also has this idea of what he calls equilibrium, right? So I like to kind of envision this as a cognitive homeostasis, right? So if you think about our physical homeostasis, this is our body completely in line and completely functioning at the way it's supposed to. Everything is in perfect working order. But we get out of homeostasis whenever anything whatsoever becomes unaligned. All right, so let's imagine you went out running, you get a lot of exercise. When you are done running, your body is out of that homeostasis, right? And so we're then going to be driven and motivated to perform certain behaviors to help us get back in that homeostasis. All right, so most likely you have an elevated body temperature. So what are things that we can do to help us cool down? Right? Do we want to get in front of like an AC or a fan? Do we want to drink some water? Do we just want to like stop and relax and let our heart rate lower back down, right? If you are sweating, we have to replace those liquids. We lost those. And so again, we'll probably want to consume something like water or a Gatorade. Our physical energy level is down, and so we have to recoup our energy. And so basically, we're just going to sit and rest for a while, right? All those things help us get back into that homeostasis. Equilibrium, again, is almost like a cognitive homeostasis. All right, we are presented with new information. All right, so we're learning something in class, or we have an experience with a family member or friend, or just whatever. We experience new information. We want to see how does that information fit in with what we already know. So with equilibrium, we want to maintain a sense that everything is in working order in a cognitive sense. So if we are presented with new information that we were not familiar with before, we are out of equilibrium, and we have to get back to that state. And so we usually do one of two things, either assimilation or accommodation. All right, so whatever this new piece of information is that's coming in, can I make it make sense with what I already know? Can I fit it in to a previous concept that I have? All right, that's what we call assimilation. Can I just assimilate it in to what's already there, and I just learn a new piece of information, how it relates to something I already know? All right, it's very simple, it's very easy to do, and it's one of the options. It's what we tend to default to if we can, because the other one, accommodation, it requires more mental effort. It requires us to have a greater change in thinking. So we have to say, whatever it is that we are learning, it completely goes against anything that I have previously learned or how I have information sorted and organized in my brain. And so now I have to completely change the whole entire system to accommodate this new information, right? So Piaget is saying we're constantly doing this throughout our whole entire lifetime. We want to maintain that equilibrium, that cognitive homeostasis. So as information comes in, can I fit it into what I already know, assimilation, or do I have to take what I know and completely change that and come up with a new system and adjustments and accommodate this new information? All right, so we're going to be doing this all the time ourselves, and it's what's going to be happening with our students as we're with them in the classroom trying to teach them these different or new ideas. So hopefully this helps us better understand a little bit about where Piaget is coming from, some of his ideas, how they connect to each other, and how it relates to the teaching and learning process.